This is the 6 by filters assignment. It will be another use for the selfie that you took at the beginning of the semester. In Photoshop, I want you to create a new document that is 4 inches wide by 6 inches high and is set to a resolution of 150 dpi. When opened, it should look like this. Now, I'm not going to be using my likeness for this simply because I'll get tired of looking at my face for the whole demonstration. Instead, I am going to substitute this model. In this particular case, this would be your likeness staring back at you from the screen. The assignment is to teach you about the filters gallery that is located inside of Photoshop, while at the same time having you create a composition out of that demonstration. So let's get started. The first thing that you will need to do is divide up your canvas into 6 equal spaces, which is very easy to do. Simply go to View, New Layer Guide. This dialog box will open and it may be set to something completely different. My default was 15 columns wide by something, which I had set to something else that I was doing. So I just changed it to 2 columns wide by 3 columns tall. This will divide your canvas up to 2 by 2 inch squares and place guides at the 2 inch mark left to right and the 2 and the 4 inch mark top to bottom. It also nicely places rule lines around the outside of your canvas. Now with this completed, I want you to save your document 7 times. This will be one for each of the filters that you will be creating in each document, but also preserves one document as the original. Here I am placing all of my documents within the 6 underscore by underscore files document on my desktop. You should create a folder within your peripheral or thumb drive marked accordingly. This will be the save location for all of these files associated with this assignment. When you're all done with your file, it should look like this with documents labeled Filter 1 through Filter 6, plus the addition of an original file which you won't be touching. When you're finished, you will have one more, but we'll get to that. Select the first Photoshop document, Filter 1. Now that it's opened in Photoshop, it's time to apply the filter to it. Go to Filter, Filter Gallery setting from the top of the taskbar. When mine opened, it looked like this. Yours might be different, but the dialog box should look the same. The dialog box will open up large and try to take over your entire screen. You will need to resize it. In the lower left of where the image is, you will see a window indicating the size of the sample area that the filter gallery is displaying to you. This is what's known as granular information. You can make this window much smaller. Here I knocked mine down to 50% and drug the window smaller so that I could be showing you both the dialog box and the effect of the filter live on the fly from the canvas. You don't necessarily need to do this. The dialog box will show you the effect of each filter gallery setting. So here you can see that you have a lot of choices. There are 6 different galleries. When you click into one, and here I have selected Artistic for my first one and then selected Fresco under that, you can see it change what the image will look like if you apply the filter. And at this point, I have not even begun to adjust the sliders inside the gallery setting, and there are 3. Your task for each of the 6 documents is to choose a different gallery setting for each one, change the information inside the gallery setting, and then click OK once you're happy with your results, and let it apply to the entire document. When you click OK, it will apply, and your first of 6 documents will be done. Now go back into your file folder and open Filter 2. When it opens, it will open with the filter settings that you've last applied in the previous document. What I want you to do now is to choose another setting. Here I have chosen poster edges and adjusted the 3 sliders inside of that filter accordingly. You don't need to follow exactly the filters that I'm using to show you here. I want you to look around at all of them and then choose the one that you like. Try to make them all as different as possible from one another. This will give you a capture of every filter that you apply. This one's my least favorite because it makes her look like she has a 5 o'clock shadow, but oh well. Now I am going to step through the filters that I used for my next 4 examples, showing you just the screen captures of the filter dialog box settings. Again, you don't have to use these. Do something entirely different. This one was underpainting. This was Sumi, glowing edges, and ocean ripple. Now I want you to save each of the overall documents that you created as JPEGs. Keep both the Photoshop and the JPEG files in the same file folder. Now select the first of the 6 Photoshop documents and reopen it in Photoshop. In my case, that was Fresco. Open each of the remaining 5 documents, and in each one do a Command A plus Command C, or select all, copy all, and then paste each one into the first file so that you end up with 6 layers inside the first document. Be sure to label each one as you bring them in, 02, 03, 04, 05, and so on. 1 layer for each of the filters that you experimented with. Save this document as by_6 document and save it to your peripheral or thumb drive. This ensures that you are not working over your first document. The next thing we are going to do is to select 1 square out of the 6 in the document, select it, save it, and discard the remaining 5. So, here I have labeled my document to make this explanation a bit easier. The square with the number 1 in it will be a 2 by 2 inch square from my first example. Number 2, the second example, and so on. So, I open my example of my first filter gallery experiment, and using my rectangular marquee tool, I draw a box around the first square in the upper left-hand corner of my document, the one corresponding to the number 1 in the previous slide. Make sure that you are on the layer that corresponds with your selection, and in this case that's 01. Next, go to Select Inverse. You should notice now that the marching ants are surrounding the entire document window, leaving only the upper left corner unselected, and then hit Delete on your keyboard. What should happen is that the upper left corner of your document window should be the only portion of 01 that is left, and now you are seeing 02 everywhere else. Now do the same for 02. Surround the square in the upper right-hand corner of the document. Be sure you are on the 02 layer. Go to Select Inverse and then hit Delete. You should end up with this. 01 and 02 are on their own layers, and below you see the rest of the document open down to 03. Continue working down through the various layers until you arrive at something like this. Each of the layers is represented only by a small 2 by 2 inch window of that particular portion of the example. Here it is with the numbering system open over it so you can see where all of my examples came from. And here's what it would look like when reopened in Photoshop without the numbering system. What you should do at this point is to create a JPEG of this and label it as the 6 by 9 filters and place it into your file folder. Now, zip the whole thing, original selfie along with a full-size example of each of the filters, and then the final with the overlapping squares. Place the whole thing into Canvas and submit it.